They tell me you're a man with true grit.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you asked for it. It's time to drop the hammer on the fastest podcast on the internet. Welcome to True Grit. I am Shane Davis, your host, and my sidekick over here, Pat. Pat Moore, how you doing?
I'm doing well, buddy.
All right, you're supposed to be playing baseball.
Yep.
Now, I did get word in Bettendorf you were on home plate in a grass skirt doing a rain dance.
I was, actually, and so if that video surfaces, then that was not the case.
Okay.
But yes, I'm not going to deny the fact that I did a rain dance.
All right, man. Well, hey, I'm glad you're here. Mars Racing Series, we'll get to that last week. Team Dunright cars, 58-59, they had a pretty good run.
Yes, they did. Yeah, they were hot both days. The 41 car was fast on Friday, and then the 59 took the whole shebang on Saturday.
$15,000 to win.
That's nice.
Mars
That's
Racing Series, it was the Fall Brawl, 60-lap feature.
That's right. You know what? And I'm glad to see racing back at LaSalle. That's a market just outside of Chicago. It's a nice little racetrack, and so I'm glad to see them back open and having a good race and having a great turnout of cars as well.
All right. Fourth annual Dale DeFrance Memorial up at Marshalltown, Iowa. Justin Kai, the Flying Farmer, the big winner up there, picks up the win Thursday night, comes back to Davenport Speedway Friday night, 1,000-win late models, and picked off the win there. So pretty good weekend for Justin Kai, the Flying Farmer.
How about that versatility?
Hey, how do you like that? And he said the corn is planted and the beans go in next week.
Did they sleep at all?
I don't know.
I came a couple of weeks ago to Friday night to Davenport. They had a double-decker hauler with a stock car and a late model, and I'm thinking, man, I am full-time busy with one car.
I know. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, that's awesome.
My
that's
God.
awesome.
Then let's see some of the specials we got coming up this Friday night. Lucas Oil MLRA Davenport Speedway, May 14th, and then Saturday night they're going to go up to West Liberty, Iowa, and they're going to be racing up there May 15th. They're going to have, besides the Lucas Oil late models, mods, sport mods. They're going to have the Ayers cars on Friday night at Davenport, and then Saturday they'll have the Nostalgia late models. Admission is going to be $20. Teens and seniors $17, 12 and under free. Pit gates $35. Gates open at 3, and grandstands open at 4 o'clock.
Yeah, you know what? It should be a good show. If I remember right, don't quote me on this, but I believe that the World of Outlaw late models are off this weekend, so I would expect some heavy hitters for those shows.
And then finally, before we get into our regular show, coming up May 21st, we have got the Badger Midgets at Davenport Speedway. You're an open-wheel guy.
Yes,
I'm a
sir.
stock car guy, so tell us what we should expect of those Badger Midgets.
Some absolutely great racing. Midgets ran, they have a pretty storied tradition in the Quad Cities, kind of faded away. These guys are based out of primarily the Madison, Rockford area, Chicago a little bit too. There is a small contingent of guys from here in town that have kept it going. It's a great program. I can't wait to see them. They're the first time back since I think I just saw over the weekend. It was 1997 or 1998.
All right.
So I'm glad to have them back. It should be a great show.
Check them out on the World Wide Web at
www.bmra.com, if I remember correctly.
All right.
Yep.
Well, hey, I am real excited tonight. We got a couple of special guests here.
How about that?
How about that? We got the Ghost, Nick Hixson, in studio with us tonight. And his dad raced a lot of years, won a lot of championships and features in modified. Rick, how you doing, Rick?
Good. How you doing, Shane?
Not too bad. And Nick, how you doing, buddy?
Good.
All right. Well, that's good to hear. Nick, we're going to roll the clock back. We're going to talk about the patriarchs of getting the Hixson race team started. Your dad, I always called him Red because back in the day he had red hair, okay? But his real name's Bill.
Right.
Okay. And your mom's name?
Carol.
All right. And I remember those two liked to dance.
Oh, yeah.
And, at some point they decided, hey, we're going to start dancing on a racetrack. We're going to get Rick and Mike, behind the wheel of a race car. How'd that happen?
Oh, my brother was in high school, and he come home one day, and he went to the races, East Moline Speedway, of course.
Okay.
And he come home one day, and he says, I want to get a race car together, So He went to a used car dealership and bought an old Dodge Dart is what he bought, 67 Dodge Dart.
Yeah.
And didn't check the rules too good because we took it up there one night and he ran it one night after he got it all built. And the wheelbase was too short.
Oh, my gosh. Now, that would stink.
Yep. And some fellow racers brought that to the officials' attention. And not to say any names, but hey, what are you going to do? You can't run that
fast.
short wheelbase.
That's right. So what you end up doing, you just take those leaf springs and you drill a hole about, a foot back and bolt the rear end back in.
Kick in it.
Yeah. Hey, so I remember the Chevy, I think it was an Impala, that had a 396 in it.
Yeah, run big blocks all the time.
Big blocks. And you know what I love about the Hixson racing team? I was talking to you about this earlier. That Cobra snake you got that was part of the number 2, the first time I seen that, was on Mike's car.
Right, in the 70s, yep. And he ran for quite a few years there. And then, he had kids, of course. And his son, Jamie, ran for a few years, too, out in Aledo.
Yeah, right. I remember that. And life gets in the way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does,
Okay. Well, I was always amazed at how tight he'd wind up that 396. I thought, ain't no way that's a big block, but it was.
Yep.
They won a lot of shows with that car.
Yeah.
So, Rick, we'll talk about sponsors. One of the ways that, one of the things that help make a race team very successful is finding good sponsors. Now, Pat, that's tough.
Oh yeah. It's but I tell you what, it's imperative today, and it doesn't matter if you're running street stocks, modifieds, late models, full blown sprint cars. Without financial support, you can't do it.
Now, Rick, you drove for Rob for a little while, and then you hooked up with, in fact, I think you had Sentry on that car, but you hooked up with Sentry Pool Supply and Dave and Sharon.
Sure, yep. And I work there currently, actually. Been there almost 30 years now with them. So, once I started driving that first mod, it was for Rob Gus, and I still remember the first race I ever won in East Moline. I ended up beating you.
Yeah.
And I actually spun the car out right in front of you, and you were running second, and then luckily they threw a caution for another guy. So I got my spot back. It was a Labor Day Classic.
Yeah.
And I thought, boy, you better not step on it again, you know.
You only get one shot.
Yeah, because he was hot at that point in time.
Yeah.
That was 87, you know.
Yeah,
and
man.
running
Good
that
days.
Norton car, and pretty much you're the man to beat. And I'm like, boy, he's on me.
Don't give him a second chance.
Nope, I blocked like I had never blocked before.
Man, that car got so wide. I thought I was following like a freight train or something. My God. But Dave and Sharon, they've been with you how many years now, Rick?
Well, I started driving for them in 1988.
Okay.
And they've been along with us. We just stopped running a couple of years ago here and put her away for a while. But always backed me 100%, and got lucky. I got lucky. I mean, I drove, my own cars, and I started in 82 when I was 15 years old and drove my own cars. And then he came along and I was going to quit. I was actually going to hang it up, in 86 and met Rob Gus, and he said, "What are you doing?" I said, I can't afford to run and have a kid, and
Kid eats food.
Yeah, he eats a lot too, And Rob says, "Well, why don't you just drive my car then?" And I said, "Well, you're gonna have to take care of it all because I can't afford to do it. Family comes first." So, and
Nice.
he got me into it, and a couple of years of driving that, and then Century Pool came on board, full time. I started working for them, and they just took over and took care of me for a lot of years. We had a lot of success.
Oh, kidding.
Fantastic.
I remember the black car you had. I think it was black in 1989 when you won the championship at East Moline. Mm-hmm. And then the following year you said, hey, we're done with the short track. We're going up to West Liberty because at that time, West Liberty was the track to be at. I mean, anybody who is anybody's running up there at Liberty. So tell me about the transition from a quarter mile to a half mile. Did you struggle at first, Rick? Or
Yeah, we went up there with the car I won the championship in '89 in Moline with. We actually built ourselves.
Okay.
So it was an old. We made a truck arm car. Okay, so nobody had one of those.
It was like NASCAR, man.
Yeah, that's where the idea came from. And nobody was doing it, and the car worked good on the shorter tracks, but it was heavy. And the first year we kind of went up there and got, bounced around a bit by the guys that were fast, but you learned, And then the next year I said, well, it's the homemade car's got to go. We're going to have to buy what's fast. And at that time it was Frieden, You know, his cars, champion cars, or Harris.
Sure.
You had to have a, when I went up there at Liberty to watch, I said, man, you got to have a champ car up here to win. I mean, literally, like you said, Harris, champ car, that's what was winning every night.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
he built a heck of a car. Now, tell us about that Frieden car. I remember the first one that I seen was one that Rick Wages had, and there was literally no seat in it like Nick has in his car now. I mean, it was just aluminum down there, and you threw a pad down if you wanted, but
Yeah, sure.
I mean, that was racetrack right underneath that interior. The interior was your seat.
Exactly. Yeah, they didn't have no seat in it, and it was a 2-link car, with the wishbone coming along, and that wishbone was right next to your hip.
Oh, man.
The left side wishbone was because you were sitting so far back in the race car.
Wow.
But he had quite a design there that worked for a lot of years.
Say they worked. They worked.
A lot of years. I mean, they dominated that dry slick racetrack, which you could always count on West Liberty being dry slick.
Yeah.
I mean, Frieden, he told you the track's going to be smooth as glass, and it's going to be slick.
And it was, you know what? And it was.
Yep, every week.
So, Nick, tell me about you jump behind the wheel. What was the first year, and what were you driving when you got into racing?
I raced go-karts for a couple years when I was younger, and then I got a street stock in 2005.
Okay.
And that was the first year I ran.
Wow. And then what do you think? Usually, Rick, Pat, we all been around this a long time. You see a guy jump a race car, and you see him run one night. It don't matter if he finishes last or where he finishes, whether or not he's got the true grit to get out there and run with the boys. And when I seen you, I said, Nick's got it. He just needs, a little experience. So did you use that first season to kind of figure things out, and Dad was probably giving you some direction along the way?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I didn't do very well at the very beginning, and I mean the street stock thing was a lot different than the go-karts, and and there was, when I started, that was when Tony Vondreski and Jeff Stevens were battling every night at Davenport. I mean, there was Adam Opendijk was racing then, and there was a lot of fast street stocks, and there was the first 3 or 4 nights there was Concies, so it was tough to jump right into that. But
oh man, no kidding. So when did you start to find success?
We moved to the B mod the second year. Bought an old champion car from Mike Flugel, and kind of struggled with their wishbone setup. So then we cut it off and put 4-bar on it, and it got a lot better there. I got a couple seconds and started winning heat races, and then the second year in the B mods when I really got better. We got a Pierce car, and we were running good at Davenport, and they were kind of tearing stuff up, so we decided to go to Tipton, and I started racing against Chris Zog and Mitch Morris, and those guys were really fast, and it was always slick, and that was where it really started to get a lot better.
But, one of the things about Tipton I always liked is, typically when I raced up there wasn't a lot of beating and banging going on. I mean, Rick, I'd bring my car home alive every night, up there.
Right.
So, we liked it up there. And, Mitch Morris, Zog, a lot of them guys, they were clean drivers, still are clean drivers to this day. And part of winning is bringing that thing home alive. So what year did you win your first feature?
2009.
Okay. All right. Yeah, been about 12 years ago. Wow. And then it was just onward and upward after that.
Kind of. I won 2 features that year in the B mod at Tipton.
Okay.
And then it was, I think 2012 was the next time I won, and that was in an open mod at Columbus Junction.
Oh, man, what a change.
Yeah.
Now, hey,
Nice
Columbus
diversity.
Junction. Pat, did you ever run down at Junction?
Yes, I did.
They used to have that dike on the back stretch. And, if you want to be fast, they better be able to read your roof when you're going down the back stretch up there at Junction. How'd you like that, Rick?
Oh, yeah. Been on that.
Yeah. Yeah, first time I went down there, I seen these guys, in front of me. I thought, well, there ain't no straightaway up there. Where are you guys going?
What are they doing out there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never wanted to know what was on the other side of that, though.
A lot of water.
Especially in a sprint car. Yeah, and it seemed like a lot of times, there'd be rain in the area, and that's what the racetrack would be fine. But then it'd come up over that dike, especially before they got that dike. I think they built it a little bit higher, and it flooded the whole racetrack there for a while. So.
I remember one night they were having a drivers meeting down there at Junction, and I said, "Hey, I want to know what's on the other side of that dike." And they said, snakes. I want to find out. I'm going to stay off that dike. So, hey, we want to let you know, if anybody's got any questions, you want to ask Rick, Nick, or any one of us, post it right below the show.
That's right. We're reading the comments here. Also, make sure that you like and share. Feel free to share this either on Facebook click on the link and share it on your local page. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Smash the like button. That helps us out. And Nick, I see people are asking about a bush light. Why you don't have a bush light in your hand?
Hey, what's that all about?
There's got to be a story there.
I got to work tomorrow.
They're suspicious of the water, is what I'm seeing. I got a couple of comments here that people are suspicious of the water.
I like that. Hey, Nick, we got down 2012. You won a big one down at Columbus Junction. How'd you like that track? I mean, you say that your favorite track was Tipton, but Junction's kind of a different beast.
Yeah. It just, for some reason, I was really good there from the beginning. At that time, we didn't really have many people going with us to help us, so it's pretty much I ran Friday and he helped me, and then I'd go Saturday and help him at West Liberty.
Okay.
So we decided a lot of plate tracks were starting to go IMCA, and we had the open motors, so we decided to go down to Columbus Junction, and it worked out. They didn't have a lot of cars. We were getting anywhere from like 11 to 16 cars a night.
Okay.
So that was nice, learning the open mod thing and not having, going to West Liberty where there was a Consi and, and a lot of fast cars. So we started getting better there, and then the race I won down there, Steve Stewart he'd won like 10 or 12 in a row.
Oh,
and
man, he was fast.
Yeah, he was killing. He was winning races at West Liberty too, and I think the year before that he picked off a big one at Tipton, was like $2,000 or $3,000 to win at the end of the year, and one of the fair board members put up I think it was a $250 bounty on him, but he had to finish the race to get it.
All right.
And I think Scott Fridley had won one a couple weeks before that, but Stewart broke.
Yeah. So
the bounty was still alive, and I led. I think I started up towards the front, and I led almost the whole thing, and with 2 to go, there was a caution, and we came off 2, and Steve had just got to the outside of me.
Yeah.
And I was running the bottom, and I thought, boy, I better make this thing wide. So I was up on the dike down the backstretch and then running down on the bottom, and he jumped under me on the last corner and actually gave me a little donut on the door, and he gave it everything he had. And after the race was over, he said, "Man, you look like a windshield wiper out there in front of me." I said, I didn't want to give you any room.
Yeah, that's the way you do it, man.
So that one was pretty cool. That was the biggest race I'd won so far, and the highest paying one, because with the bounty on there, it was like almost $600 I'd won. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, Patrick Brenner says Sherry wants to know if Rick will sign Nick's door that we have hanging in the Rednecker Fence of Fame.
Hey, I like that.
There's got to be a story there.
So, Rick, you got to make sure and sign that door for
Oh,
me.
yeah, I'll sign it for you, Sherry.
Nice.
No problem.
Nice.
Might cost you a couple bush lattes, but we'll get her done.
Nothing wrong with that. I like that. Okay, let's talk about the Reinhardt Memorial. You won the street stock portion of that, 2019-20. Of course, Rick and I, both your dad, we raced with Gary Reinhardt, hell of a racer, great guy, just, would do anything to help a person out. And, on that fateful night, it was raining out that night. Caution hadn't come out yet. Gary's leading the feature. And it got around a little hot. And, man, you're on that grease, punch the fence, and that was it for Gary. So it's nice that we can honor, a guy like Gary Reinhardt by having a memorial for him to help remember him. So what did that mean to you, Nick, when you were able to pick off that win? Kind of walk us through how that night went.
That first we started, I drew bad as usual. So I think we won the heat race, and I don't know, I drew like 10 or something, and the track was really slick, and they run the IMCA stock cars with us.
Yep.
And with their motor combination, it kind of helps them out when it gets slick, not having as much power. So but we were able to move right through. I think everybody went to the bottom, and I went to the top, and there wasn't much there, but you can really build momentum at Tipton on the top because it's not real sharp,
Sure.
And the car was just great, and we flew around the top, and nobody else was up there, and it was really cool to win a memorial race for somebody that
Very
raced
nice.
locally, and I know Cassie pretty well.
Sure.
So she was pretty excited. I think she wrote Dick Hixson on the check instead of Nick Hixson, but
Is that a Freudian slip?
Yeah, there we go. Oh, my God. You talk about Gary Reinhardt. I was going through some old pics I had today, and I found a picture of Gary when he was a little kid. And he had built a model, of somebody's race car, but I'm going to say he was probably 8 years old, and I posted a picture of it on Hawkeye Raceway Memories, and I put a picture of it on Cassie's page, and I said, hey, this one's for you, because she had never seen it. Mm-hmm. And, it's funny how a lot of those old pics are out there floating around, and a lady had passed away, and her daughter said, "Hey, Mom said, when the good Lord calls her home, she wanted you to have these pics, Shane." So she brought all these black and whites, and in those black and whites were that picture of Gary Reinhardt. So it was kind of neat seeing him, as a kid. His mother wrote for the Hawkeye Racing News. She was very active. Charlotte Reinhardt, she'd go down to the Daytona 500 every year. And Gary, one of the top drivers, he loved Tipton. So it was nice that you were able to win that thing, Nick. So
Sure.
now, I am not on top of the difference between an IMCA stock car and the Outlaw Street Stocks we race. Is it shock packages, trailing arms? Tell me what the difference is so I can understand that, Nick.
The trailing arms, they can adjust theirs compared to our rules. They want us to leave them in the stock location.
Okay.
They can adjust them on the rear end housing, and then they have different motor rule than what we have.
All right.
They have different cubic inch requirements, and they could have to run smaller carburetors with a bigger cubic inch and things. So
what carburetor do you run now, Nick?
just the Holly 4-barrel.
Okay.
750.
750,
CFM,
okay.
Yeah.
And the IMCA stock cars, what do they have them guys running?
The big motors, they have to run the 350 CFM 2-barrel, and then was it 500? I think is the
For the 360s.
360. Yeah.
I believe it's 500 2-barrel you can run for the 360s.
Now, Rick, you remember when we were racing back in the early days and you had to have a 500 CFM Holly 2-barrel? We just sent ours off to California, and they made it whatever size you wanted it.
Yes, they did. Seen some 780s, and you look down and you're like, yeah, that's not.
Yeah, that you stick your fist down, and you're like, oh my God,
Look like a garden hose dumping down there, Yeah, I've seen some big ones.
I don't know if you had anything like that, Pat.
And that's an interesting thing. So when Griff and I were walking through the pits, my son Griff and I were walking through the pits. I have never raced a car other than an outlaw cart that's had a carburetor on it. Everything that I've ever raced has always been a fuel injected, mechanical and fuel injection. So, I look at carburetors and man, I feel like I'm completely in the dark. I feel like there's Mr. Wizard working on those things.
There's somebody working on it.
Yeah, because and the technology in the modern carburetors is absolutely amazing. When you look at a fuel injection, a mechanical fuel injection like we run on the midgets and the sprint cars, they're pretty simple. Really, it's all based on the fuel pump, and it actually sprays the fuel right. There's no float, and there's no excess amount of fuel that's being sucked in. It's the 100% of what's filtered through it is sprayed right into the injection. So
Okay. Hey, we're gonna have a little. We're gonna give away some free tickets to the races, and everybody likes free stuff.
Yeah,
I love
without a
it.
doubt.
Yeah. So we got a picture up there on the monitor right now behind Pat, and it's. It's the Peterson Super Service 57 Chevy, number 32. Okay, the first person to identify the driver of that and post it below our program, you're going to win 2 free tickets for a weekly show, not a special event, and you're going to have the choice of Davenport Speedway and Kai Promotions, 34 Raceway Park, Donaldson, or East Moline. It's going to be your choice. So
How about that? Your choice of 4?
Well, you pick 4
awesome.
tracks. You just say, we're going to give you 2 tickets to one of those 4, but you pick the
Not
track.
just one, but your choice of 4. That's awesome.
That's pretty
That
awesome.
is awesome.
So if anybody had seen that picture up there, you might want to put that picture back up again for a moment. I don't know if anybody had identified that, but that picture is probably back from, I'm going to say the late 60s. And if you know who that is, driving the number 32 car, post it, and you'll get those free tickets, and we'll let you know who the winner is.
I just want the 57 Chevy.
That's what I want. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Young, good-looking guy driving that car, and he was a legend in racing. And you might want to go get your dad for this one or your grandpa.
Yep, and make sure you post your guesses or your comments in the comment section.
Oh, there we go. Yep. We got a guy up there at top, but he is watching from South Carolina.
That's right.
Wow.
And he and so we're going to have to go above that. Is that the first one, Pat? You tell me who the first one that has the correct.
It looks like, is that the correct answer?
Right there,
It
Jen.
looks like Jen Crouch.
How do you like that? I might know her.
Yeah.
She's been to a lot of races. And who was that, Pat?
That was Dean Montgomery.
All right, Dean Montgomery. So, Jen, get with me. Let me know what you want Tickets to East Moline, Davenport. It is a weekly show, not the specials. Donaldson or 34 Raceway Park. Yeah. So our first winner.
Woo!
I'm excited.
I know, me too. This
Man,
is awesome.
Jen,
Yeah.
you had to ask somebody for that answer because I think your mom answered
Oh,
that.
she said actually it was mom.
Right.
I knew it
Yeah,
was mom.
she's being honest. I like that.
Yeah,
I like
that's
that.
right. Honest and single. So, hey,
How about that?
you
That's a
never know.
wicked combination.
So, Nick, let's get back to the racing deal. Shock packages today. I mean, man, when Rick and I just started out, your dad, boy, you throw a couple 94s on the back of the car and put a 76 and a 74 on the front and go racing.
Yep.
Today, the shock packages are so exotic. Today, to go fast in the outlaw street stocks, you don't just go down and pick up 4 shocks. I mean, you got to buy some nice stuff. Is that right?
Yep.
And so, what are the guys spending on a shock package for a street stock? I mean, can you spend $1,600 or $900 or where are you at on that?
Yeah, you could spend that much for sure, pretty
All right.
easily.
And do you go to Eckrich to buy those, or where do you go to buy?
That's who we got ours through. That's
All right.
actually the same set of shocks I was running on my modified when I was running. So,
Really?
yep.
Okay.
So
And then
no-
what about springs today? You know, the Coil Springs. What do you run different today?
Not much, for the street stocks. It's almost like when we started with the mods. You go to Brad's or DeBill's and pick up the rate you want, and they're pretty much the same. 5.5 or 5 inch, and whatever you want.
Yeah.
Nothing real fancy that way. The shocks, I think, are what everybody's spending a lot of money on.
Okay.
Now, are you guys running gas-filled shocks or just
Oil filled or?
Both, actually. Yeah, it depends on what corner of the car you're on.
Okay.
What I did over the wintertime, because I'm just cheap, is I got on the internet and I learned how to rebuild them shocks.
very
Did
nice?
you really?
Yep. And
Very
I got
nice.
on there and I went down to DeBill's and QA1s is what we run. Nothing special, but now I know how to valve them myself
Yeah.
and to
impressive.
recharge them with the nitrogen. I mean, I bought all the stuff. It cost me $500, I think it was, for the kit.
Yeah.
And you got to know how to read a digital micrometer, you know what I'm saying, of
Right.
calipers.
Yeah.
You can do that. I'm telling you, they even got a video on
Yeah.
there showing you how to do it. I mean, if you race like we did,
Yeah.
we didn't go buy things when we
No,
started.
no,
You
we built
build it.
Right.
We build everything. Control
Yeah.
arms,
Sure.
chassis, we build it all.
Exactly.
And that's the way it was done. So Nick's car looks real soft when he's out there on the racetrack. I mean, it's just kind of floating around out there, and whatever you're doing to it, it works. So there's probably a lot of people out there with, a pad and a pencil right now. You're not going to tell them what shocks you're running, are you?
They're red in color.
Okay.
Red shocks, special red shocks.
The secret's out. Now we know.
But how much? Back to the shocks, though. How much are you guys changing on a regular basis, or when you find a setup? And this is one of the things that intrigues me about stock cars. When you guys find a setup, do you pretty much stick with it
Yeah.
for a local track?
Yeah, you pretty much do, unless you get a night where it's real rough and wet. And then we'll stiffen the right side up a little bit just to control the car a little better. But otherwise, we pretty much just run the same ones all the time.
Okay, nice.
And now tires. Let's talk about that. I see a lot of the guys in open wheel modified and late model, and they're putting the super grind to them, and they got their whole routine they go through for working their tires. Can you do that with your street stock, or how limited are you? Do they let you sipe the tires, or what are you doing?
Yeah, we can sipe them and grind them. Just
Okay.
no grooving, and that's about it.
Okay, now tell me, why are the guys wrapping them in plastic?
They say that if you keep them clean and keep them wrapped up, they won't dry out.
Okay, makes sense. The oil will stay in the tire.
Yeah, the softener will stay in a lot better that way.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Here we
going to say
go.
that. I thought,
All right.
should I pull that pin or not? And then I thought,
You walk through the pits and see how many guys got durometers in their toolbox.
Oh,
Track.
man, there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Oh, my
I thought,
God.
you know what, Patrick, should you mention that? I thought, no, let's not pull the pin on that grenade right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, boy.
And so,
Nothing like an interrogation. That would go from an interview to an interrogation.
right, right. But no, the cars have changed so much. I mean, when your dad and I started out, we just put them together, go out and race them. We didn't grind the tires, we didn't sipe them, didn't do any of that stuff. So I'm very fascinated by what direction the sport has went, and that in your class, you're even playing with the exotic shock packages. And I know the last year I raced late model was 2000, and so I made a phone call to one of the top late model guys. Just said, hey. I'm kind of out to lunch on this shock deal. You know, it was new to me. And so tell me what to buy and I'll go buy it. And boy, you know, the shocks he told me to put on the car, it made a world of difference. We went from running 7th the week before. We won the feature that night. And, you know, I was just amazed at what a difference having the right shocks on your car can make.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the. That's why I asked about the shocks. So in the sprint car midget world, we change shocks on a lot. Well, two things that are really different. That's one of the reasons why I like to ask, is that first of all, if you ever have an incident where you run into somebody else or even a tractor tire or something, you rip the shocks off the car and the shocks are destroyed and they need to be fixed. So you don't really want to spend that much on them because they're expendable. Mm-hmm. However, we change shocks based on setups, and so you can run 3 different shocks on, especially the front end, sometimes the right rear, and sometimes depending upon the track conditions on the left rear too, because they change the setup of it. So you know, we'll go from a tie down on one and then a standard shock to what would be an easy up and then a standard or any combination thereof. And if you don't understand what that is, that's the valving difference from, you know, what the shock moves either in or out. So I know enough about shocks to look at as I'm wandering through the pit area and see what some of the guys are running. And that's why I'm like, so they run an easy up over here and a tie down over there. And I'm like, well, are they changing? Or, you know, whereas most people wouldn't be able to look at it and see what the numbers are and subsequently what they mean. But that's why I'm curious. I'm asking a lot of people so that I can learn too. So.
Sure,
Yep.
sure.
Hey, so Timmy Current, Ryan Doom, the Fall Bash. Man, I was amazed when they started that Fall Bash how packed that track got. I mean, they just got packed. And Nick, you were able to pick off the win on that one in 2019.
Yep. Yeah, that was a good one.
How do you like the camping out and the, you know, more than one day show and all that stuff? Is there a lot of partying going on, or are you just focused on racing?
Well, with the Outlaw Street Stocks, they usually only run us one of the nights, so I haven't
Okay.
gone up and camped or anything yet. I
Yeah.
planned on it all the time. It just never
Okay.
happened. But here, there's a lot of partying, a lot of fun going on.
Yeah. So up there, you know, Tipton, you kind of talked about that. One of the things, you know, I liked about that track was it was always large, sweeping turns. It was kind of a momentum track to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when your dad and I were young, one of the things I disliked about Tipton was, man, that backstretch was dark. You know, when they had the old lights up, and I said, man, this would be a perfect track, but you got to get lights in here. Well, they fixed that.
Yes, they
They
did.
got the new lights in. And then I wanted to ask you, grandstands, you know, I'd seen they put some new grandstands in last year. Were those temporary or were they permanent, or do you know?
I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
I think they're, you know, Kathy Deloy posts quite a bit about that.
Okay.
You know, because I think she has something to do with the fair board or something. But
Yeah.
they're doing something with the grandstand there, which is great. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a shame they can't run weekly there, you
No
know, because
kidding.
it's a nice place.
Such a beautiful track. And,
Yeah.
you know, all the years Dr. L's been prepping it, and even before that when Frieden had the track, it was always just smooth, a great track. I mean, I really don't remember when I raced up there. You know, we'd run the National Series up there once a year and hit and miss for special events, but I don't ever remember it, you know, being a rough track. I mean, it was always, you know, in great shape.
Yeah, we only got to run the sprint cars there once a year, and it's always, you know, it's flat enough around the inside, but banked enough around the outside. They always put on great shows, and like you say, the track was always really prepared, really nice, and it was always standing room only for the sprint cars. So
Yeah.
it was always one of the ones I circled on the calendar.
You know, the one thing I didn't like up there, and I don't know how you'd fix it, you're just going to have to live with it. You know, the grandstands are on the east side of the track, and the sun sets on the west. And, man, if you're up there in the grandstands, I mean, my God, that sun's just right in your eyes.
And especially since one of the unique characteristics of, if you've never been there, I know we all have, is the track is actually elevated too, which makes it even worse. So the track is up here to where, yeah, like you say, you're looking right into the setting sun.
Yeah. Hey, we got some pictures up here that, you know, our Nick's race car feature went over at Davenport Speedway. I see that
How
right
about
there.
that?
Beautiful car. I love
Without
gray.
a doubt.
And that was Rick's car. Century Pool number 2. That was that black
That's the
one we were talking
first
about.
Harris car we got. Was that
Okay.
right there, yep.
And this here, Rick?
That's a Shaw car.
Okay.
Yep. There's the old 10-year-old street stock.
Oh, my God. Now, that's not the car you got now.
Yeah,
It's still the one.
same
Yeah.
car.
Oh, my gosh.
See, here's the thing about this. You know, and this, I've known this for years. Sometimes when you find a race car that works,
Oh, yeah.
you hate to go buy a new one and take a chance. You know, if you have a stellar year, and I've seen a lot of guys do this over the years, And then they say, man, I can be so much better next year if I buy a brand new one just like I'm going to tell you, fellas, they ain't all the same when they ain't welded together the same.
They ain't all the same.
So you're
how
rolling
many
the dice. If you got a good one, stay
Keep
with it.
Oh yeah.
Until it falls apart, stay with her, babe.
I remember we were on the Hawkeye Dirt Tour, and I went up to Independence, Iowa, and we rolled the car across the scales, and we rolled it back, rolled it on, rolled it back, rolled it on, and I said, what are you rolling the car on and off so many times for? They said, well, the scales say it weighs 2,600 pounds. And I said, that's because it does. So it's like, hey, it works. I mean, what do you do?
Yeah, and this car here is not a lightweight car by any means.
Yeah.
It's had a hard life, but however it's bent in the right spot.
Bent the right way.
Man.
Yeah, don't touch it. It's
Don't
perfect.
touch it.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing to do is come in after a heat race and say, well, what do you want to do? The optimum thing to do is put fuel in it and go get a hot dog.
Nice.
Don't touch it.
It's working.
That's right.
My
If you
God,
change
it's working.
anything, I'm gonna.
Yep. And that's been for years what we used to do. We'd throw everything in the trailer at them. If you weren't winning and you didn't think you were fast enough in that heat, you're throwing springs at it, you're throwing shocks at it.
And we've seen, I mean, I've done it, you've done it. I mean, you got parts flying everywhere. You're like, man, we got to make this thing go. And the guy that made out that whole deal, Rick, was the guy that run the parts trade.
Oh, yeah. That
He's
JC
got-
DeBille race car parts made out well.
Yeah,
on
he's
that.
like, here's the shocks that are take you to the promised land. And you're
50
like, oh,
horsepower
okay.
by putting these shocks on.
Yeah. So let's take a look down here. Doug Lenth, Jen Crouch says, okay. She's talking to Doug Lenth, Tim Goldstack. Rick needs to race slot cars. Now, that's a whole nother story.
It's a whole
Now, you know what we
nother
do in the winter
conversation.
months.
Yeah.
Pat and I race slot cars. We got sprint cars, modifieds, late models. You guys got to come out to Thunder Road Hobbies, race cars. We'll loan you a car. Pat's got loaners. I got
Yep,
it.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
You mean we can't claim one?
No,
just can't
you can claim one. Yeah. It's the cheapest hobby you can get into. But that's, $100, you go race
That's
it,
right.
and
Yep, it's fun.
it's a lot of fun. In fact, I think that's why Pat hasn't brought a sprint car out yet, because it's so cheap.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, I've covered the slot car track though with the plastic, and now the sprint car operation now takes up the majority of the shop. So
Tables are gone, chairs are gone.
they
all
are.
tucked
They're
away.
torn down, and the sprint car's out in the aisle. I'm actually putting a brand new chassis together, and the 360 is going together in preparation for the Sprinnovator season. So
All right.
hopefully we'll be out and running.
right.
So.
So
Great,
yeah, I'm just
great.
looking at that stuff.
Yep.
Let's see. Gould's still talking. He's living down in South Carolina right now. So
Living vicariously down where it's warm, right?
that's right. Nothing wrong with that.
Especially today with the weather.
He's probably sitting on a boat right now talking to us. So the guys that we had pictured up there with your race car, your pit crew, you want to give a shout out to the guys that give you a hand every week then, Nick?
Yeah, for sure. One was my cousin Jamie Hixson, Mike's son.
Oh, yeah.
That raced for
Okay.
a long time.
Right.
And then the other one's my brother-in-law, Jerry.
Okay.
So they
Yeah,
give
then-
up their summers most of the year, come help, and they always got something good to say.
And your dad talked about how he's still out at Sentry.
Yep.
And then, Nick, you're doing what now?
I'm a electrician with the IBW 145.
Wow.
Very nice.
145.
Yep.
So
on
how'd
Rock
you get
Island.
into being an electrician?
Mike Zemo Jr., actually.
No kidding. All
Yep.
right.
Yep. One day he texted me and said, hey, get down there and fill out an application. They're looking for apprentices. So got down there and did that, and it took off from there.
Very
So
nice.
you're done with your apprenticeship,
Yep.
and now you're making the big money.
Yeah.
So if
Yep.
one of us need a loan, we know where to go now.
I don't know about that. I got a race car, Shane. You forgot about
I
that.
know. That's right.
There you go. There you
That's,
go.
where all the money goes too. Again, hey, if you got any questions on there, we've been reading the board. A lot of people have joined on, but put a post right down below the show you're watching right now, and
That's right.
let us know if you got a question. We got one up here right now.
And don't forget to like and share. Please share a video. It helps us all out.
Josh Whipple wants to know when Rick's going to get behind the wheel of a race car again. What do you think, Rick?
I don't know. It's not totally out the window, I guess, but
Yeah.
I'm having probably the most fun I've had in a long time.
Yeah, good.
So,
Good. Now, Rick, how old are you now?
let's see. I started counting backwards 10
Yeah.
years ago, so 55 is where I'm at right now.
All right.
So
I like that. Hey, I'll be 62 next month, and so the window has closed for me. But you still got some life left in you, Rick. And if you've said, the bad thing about it is you said you got a modified sitting there, and they really are never race ready because you go, hey, if we're going out again, we got to have new tires, and we got to have this, that, and the other.
I hear
And
you.
before you know it, there's $1,000 out the window, and
Right, just to get her going again. But,
you know.
yeah.
But hey, you still got the car, the trailer. You got a truck to haul it with.
Yeah. Oh, they Central Pool owns that car. I don't have any money in that car at all.
Yeah.
So that's theirs, you know, and I don't see it coming out. Anybody wanted to buy it, you know, it'd be for sale. Like I say, it's complete.
Sure.
And
And 16 was a good year for Harris.
Yes, and it was a good fast car.
Yeah.
I had good luck with it. You know, it's not all beat to death, so I gotta feel like a car salesman right now.
Yeah, right. So, Rick, that one, that was when you run up at Liberty, so it's probably all set up for the half mile right now? or-
No, actually, that one I ran at Davenport the last few years. Sir.
Oh, you did?
Just
Okay,
ran
that's the one.
Davenport because
Okay.
I was getting to the point where I was done traveling that far. You know,
Yeah.
you know how it wears on you after
Oh,
a while. You know,
absolutely.
you did the tour, and
Yeah.
when you were running for Norton, and you know that as young as you are, you go like crazy.
Still
I mean,
get wore out.
Yeah, before he was born, I was running 3-4 nights a week. You know, I'd go to Friday night, I'd go to Farley, and then I'd go to West Liberty on Saturday, and I'd go to Dubuque on Sundays. And then if Knoxville had a show on Wednesdays, we'd run
We're
down
going.
there.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
we were going.
But
Hey, Bob Lynch says that you could still do it though. Bob Lynch says that he just turned 59. No, Johnny just turned 59. He said you could still do it. So, and that is one thing. And then one of the things that intrigues me about the stocker racing is that you get to race at home. You know, I mean, and so I'm right there with you. You know,
Right.
I'm in my 50s now, and the difference between spending all weekend in the toter home and and having a 2, 3, 4 hour, 6 hour drive to race, and then come back versus getting to race at Davenport on Friday night.
Yeah.
And sleep
That's
in
the way
my
to do
own
it.
bed with my son watching, and and stuff like that. It's pretty intriguing. So,
Pat, Doug Lenth has got a question.
has Rick or Nick ever turned any laps together? That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, we raced open mods quite a few times.
Okay.
Nice.
Hey, and how, I know how it was with my brother, but hey, you're pulling up on Dad. Do you kind of lay a little rubber on his door, or what do you do?
Actually, I think the first time we did it, I did get his quarter panel a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I pretended it wasn't me afterwards.
he said I
behind
came
you.
down. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm serious. I'm ahead of you.
Oh man, that's great.
We had a
That's
few
impressive.
races together, definitely. And I still remember West Liberty one night. We were out there hot lapping, and I purposely went out alongside of him, and we went the whole hot lap session side by side.
Oh my gosh.
Nice.
And it was hard. He wanted to beat me,
But
and,
it was fun.
yeah. And
And Rick, man, you probably had your foot through the firewall, driving like your hair's on fire. He ain't getting by.
yep, exactly right.
Yeah, no,
I'm giving him nothing.
I envy you guys. So my son Griff, who's 12, I love taking him even to the rental go-kart places, and nobody beats and bumps on him more than Dad does.
That's right.
That's the way to do it.
One of the times we came in, he said, "I don't know who this was, but this guy kept banging into me," and I'm like, "Ooh, I don't know who that was." That's,
Did you get his
whatever,
name?
sure. I'm like, then later I said, "Griff, it was me," and he goes, "Dad."
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Hey, so your mom and dad, do they still go to the races? Do they watch on Done Right TV or?
Well, my mother passed away 2 years ago.
Oh, she did. Okay.
Yeah, on my birthday, and my dad, yeah, he watches, on Done Right, and actually he was there Friday night, 2 Friday nights ago when we won.
Oh man,
So
that's
he was
great.
at the gate.
That is
Yep.
awesome.
Did he
Yeah.
get down to the fence? Whenever
Yeah,
he
he's
was-
down
he
to the
was down
fence.
there.
Yep.
I just seen a bunch of people screaming. I couldn't make anybody out. They're just kind of going crazy.
Yep. So he,
Oh,
but he
he
gets,
had to
you
love
know, I
that.
really like the Done Right deal.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea you guys did, but a lot of folks, especially with the COVID deal going on, I mean, you reached out and made a way for them to still be able to go watch the races, and I got to say, it's probably going great for you. I would
Going
think.
great. You know, the crazy thing is, I'm sitting there looking at it, and I remember opening night at Davenport. I thought, we can't have everybody in the stands. How are we going to make this work? We started out with the World Outlaw show, and things were crazy. And then the next week, our weekly show, we had 165 cars, and the governor allowed 10 people per car. Well, instead of them paying $12 to get in the stands, we had a bunch of pit crew guys.
That's
and so
right.
they were in there at $30 a pop.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm looking at the, where people are signing in from, on the Done Right thing. And, I'm looking at Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana, Missouri, Minnesota, North Dakota, Texas, Mexico, Germany. I'm like, how did somebody in Germany find out there was races in Davenport, Iowa? But, hey, it's the internet.
Yeah.
I'm old. I don't understand all that stuff. But it's really amazing to me that, we've just kind of opened up the whole United States to being able to watch the races. And I know at the beginning of the night when I tell people, we're live across America, let the people across America know what the fans in Davenport, Iowa sound like. And they go crazy.
That is awesome.
Just crazy.
Yeah.
And they go crazy when people win. And it's just nice that, we've got that added audience that we take, advantage of now. And I remember last year we're heading up to Micrometer. They had a Lucas Oil show, and they had trouble with the film crew. So all of a sudden, Kelly gets a call, and they said, "Hey, can you do the show up there at Micrometer?" And we went up and did that Lucas Oil show up there. And I'm telling you, I'm just thinking, don't put the cameras on the grandstands because they were packed. I've never seen a crowd like that at Micrometer. And I announced up there as a weekly guy for 12 years. And it has really, kind of brought our sport to a new level because, man, if you got a relative in, in Nevada and they want to watch you race, Nick, I just got to log on to Done Right TV, go to, I'm new to all this stuff. So my daughter says, well, hey, let's, the big screen's a smart TV you got here, Dad. So we just go to YouTube, we type in Done Right, boom, we're watching races.
And how lucky are we to have local racing on with a provider like Kelly at Done Right does? I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about doing a show like this is because we're local racers and we get to race here locally and have it broadcast worldwide. Just myself, Griff and I, just this weekend, we got to watch open wheel racing from Pennsylvania, Ohio, and California all in the same night. And here we have a local provider like Done Right TV that has our local racing that's broadcasting it out there for the whole world to see. That's amazing.
Yeah, and the amazing thing was when this whole thing went down last year, Kelly went out and, this equipment you look at, we got here in the sound studio, this is first class.
Yes, it is.
And what we got at the racetrack is all top dollar equipment. And he made the investment and kind of rolled the dice and thought, hey, is this thing going to work or is it not going to work? And,
that's right.
It was the best thing I think that's ever happened to dirt track racing. And, and that's one of the reasons why, we've seen our car counts going up at Davenport. When you sign in on a Friday night and you got 33 mods, 33 sport mods, and 22 late models and 16, outlaw street stocks. And you compare that to other tracks out there right now. There's other tracks out there that are struggling, and yet the promoter has to understand. I think sometimes when they look at, well, I don't want to put it on TV because I don't want people to sit at home versus coming here to the track. Well, guess what? When you look at those numbers and the people that are buying the program, they wouldn't be there at the track. They're across America, and maybe Grandma is not feeling well or not able to get out. Now she can stay at home and watch it on TV. She wouldn't be at the track. Yeah. So, it's great that we can do that.
Well, I think it's going to help, right now, if you think about local racing and just what you guys are doing is going to bring it back. It's the best thing for it I've seen so far. Yeah. Because let's face it, I mean, it's been dying. I mean, it really has. And if you say it hasn't, you're
you're not watching the numbers.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I see it every week. So, I mean, the best thing I think you can do is what you guys are doing because it gets people interested again.
Yeah.
It's great. I can see the promoter standpoint. I got to get ticket sales to make a living. And I get it. You got to make a living. But you have to get people interested again. What really helped is when it's cool outside or cold, and the older folks, they're like, man, I ain't going to go sit up there, No. But they sit at home and look at their big screen. Then they say, okay, it's warm. Let's go this week,
That's right.
Well, and especially coming out of COVID, and we talk about this almost every week, it seems, but especially coming out of COVID, people are looking for something to do, something that's safe, that's not inside. And, we may not be comfortable going out to dinner yet. We may not be comfortable crowding in to listen to a band, but and so all of the additional racing fans that have been exposed to it because of the technology and because of shows like this and the broadcasting, we encourage them, and we should, as racers, all of us should encourage bringing new people into it and say, hey, get out to the racetrack. It's cool on TV, don't get me wrong. That's amazing, and it's amazing that we have this. It's even better to check it out live.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's...
Hey, look at this. Mike Zemo Jr. saying, Nick, you are late to everything. What's the story about that? Late to the racetrack? Late to what?
Never gets in a hurry.
Yeah.
That's a guilty face.
Mike's just he's just always ready way early. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Well, he's totally different to me because when I race, I'm in the race car 2 races ahead.
Yeah.
And I'm strapped in, ready to go because I'm just my focus level is
You're zoned.
I'm zoned.
Yeah.
This guy,
Yeah.
I got to find him. Okay, he's off talking to somebody, or he went to get a hot dog. I don't know where he's at, and he never gets fired up, which is probably a good thing. It makes him calmer on the racetrack, I guess. But no, he's never in a hurry about anything, and that's probably why when we came through the gate, was it 2 years ago? First night out, we were like late, and started dead last and won that night.
Yeah,
nice.
Hey.
And I'm like, let's go, and he's like, don't worry, we got time. He goes, I don't have to run the heat. And I'm like, well, I'd like to see you run the heat, start a little further up. It doesn't matter. We'll make it.
You'll be okay. Now, that's a driver with confidence.
We waited till June to race. So I wasn't in any hurry to get there.
Yeah.
but isn't it normally switched where Dad is normally the it's okay, don't panic. We don't really need to run warm-ups. We don't really need to run the heat. And the kid's like, come on, we got to go.
Oh, yeah. I think I pace around that car more than he does. I mean, I'm back and forth, and he's just like, what's your problem?
Nice.
Rick, you were in a zone. When it was race time, whether we were down to Lido, East Moline, wherever you're at, you were in a zone. And, I mean, it was a different Rick Hixson. You're there to race. You're not there to BS. You're not there to do anything but race. And you were zoned in. And, I mean, I remember that about you all the years you raced. And there were a lot of drivers in that time frame with us that they kind of zoned in too, and they were there to go racing. So I think it's kind of cool that Nick can just kind of chill out and not get too excited about anything.
Yeah, so he would sit in the car and just think about things that could go wrong. And he'd be like, "Hey, go check this."
The truth
double
comes
check the air and the
out.
left rear tire and stuff. If I do that, then I distract myself and then I don't focus. So I try to just stay a lot more relaxed and not get so hyped up.
Rick's in there, that sounds like a U-joint. I hear a knockback. Something's gonna break.
Yeah, put the fuel cap on.
That's right. Did they tighten that bolt? Do we put
and
one?
I remember. I don't know if you're
two?
like this, Nick, but you're leading the feature. There's 2 to go. You start hearing all this weird stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh my God, the gauge moved, fuel pressure moved. And so, you're just worried about, hey, am I going to make it to the end? But Nick, you being Nick, probably just, hey.
No, I still do that too. Actually, the first points night when Jesse Owen won and he was spewing water everywhere. There was a couple laps there at the end where I thought something was breaking. I was hitting the water after I thought about it, but I thought I was breaking an axle or something, or it was starting to strip the splines off because it would randomly just rev up and spin, and I was like, man, I think something's broke. We were checking everything, and then I was standing around talking with Jeff Struck and Tony Von Dreskin. We were talking about how much water Jesse was losing, and I was like, I bet that was what I was hitting, but at the time I was thinking something was broke.
And I got to tell you, one of the best shows over there at Davenport. I mean, you guys put on a show every night. And, when you start talking about Jeff Struck and Tony Von Dresky and, yourself and on down the line, I mean, there's, 6, 7 cars out there that could win the feature every night. And so it's amazing to me that, man, they always let you have that high side, Nick. And, one thing that I was always worried about when I'd run the high side is getting that right rear over the cushion. But, man, you got it down pat. You must have, like, eagle eyes or something.
I attribute that to running Tipton in the open mods.
Yeah.
Ryan Dolan would just fly on the top there. There'd be nothing there. He would dip the right rear over, and a couple nights he actually lapped me, and I stayed out. Usually we would pull off. I see the layover flag, but I stayed out and followed him, and it was just crazy. And you could almost watch his right rear tire and watch his throttle control when he would dip over, and it would throw the rooster tail, and you could see him back out of it, and he'd come back on, and the car works really good, so that helps. When I feel it go over, I can roll out of it and it stays on. It doesn't, or I can bring it back on real easy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's great.
Nice. I think it's a testament too to all of the different tracks that you run. A lot of local racers just stick to the one, and running all of those, I realize the difference between the Columbus Junction and a Tipton. They're totally different racetracks. And it says a lot for your flexibility that you're able to run so many different places and be fast everywhere you've gone. So
Thank you.
Yeah, and I got to tell you that, back in the day when your dad was running down there at Knoxville, Illinois, we had a lot of fun down there for a couple of years, didn't we, Rick?
Oh, yeah.
Rick Benson had it going on. He had a great track down there. Coors sponsored the racing. They had awesome crowds.
On a Wednesday night.
On a Wednesday night, yeah.
I mean, you go there, and I'll tell you, they packed the stands.
They packed
Nice.
them.
And those
Roger
are big
Sollenberger
grandstands.
was the announcer back then.
Oh, yeah, Roger, yep.
And they had a Hardee's, right there next to the racetrack. So, man, when the races were over, it was off to Hardee's.
That's right.
Everybody's over there in the drive-through and inside. Couldn't get waited on, but we had a lot of good times down there, Rick.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Good racing too.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Well,
Nick, we got about 5 minutes left. What does the future hold for Hixson Racing and Nick? Do you think you're going to stay in the the outlaw street stock? Do you envision yourself someday going modified, or where are you at right now?
I think my heart will always be in the modified. I loved racing the modified. I couldn't afford it.
Okay.
What I needed to really be competitive, and
Yeah.
I think we just got to see what we can afford. We don't
Sure.
want to go and take a knife to a gunfight
Yeah.
every night. It isn't any fun. I tried it. I was like, oh, I want to run the modified thing. And it's just if you don't have the funding to get what you need, you can't.
Yeah.
You can only go so far.
And when you talk about that, I mean, you got to have, what you got to have, the best of the best of the best. And I'd give you an example. I remember 4 weeks ago, Ricky Thornton Jr. had his modified on the internet, and I don't know if you've seen it on there, but he said it came with a spec motor and an open motor, $75,000. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, isn't that something?
I mean, are you kidding me?
I think his comment was, "It better be made of gold."
It better be made of gold. I'm like, better have a brick of gold inside the air cleaner or something.
Yeah, I saw one of them with a spec motor. It was a modified with the spec motor. It was like $35,000.
Yeah.
I thought, wow,
Yeah.
wow, that makes sprint car racing look pretty economical.
Right. And when you look out there and you look at the caliber of cars out there running, sport mod and open wheel mod, I mean, there, again, you got 10 guys that could win that feature that night. And so when you spend all the money you have, that just gets you in the game.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't, mean you're going to go out and win. I mean, look at Mitchell Morris, brand new Harris car. Everything on the thing's brand new. Goes out opening night, wins his heat, and then he breaks a Jaime on it. Brand new everything. Goes out the next week, wins his heat, starting third in the feature, and brand new everything, and blows the fitting out of the power steering pump. So, man, when you're talking about spending that kind of money, you got to look at investment, what you got coming back in ratio, and boy, the way you're running Nick in that street stock, man, I'd hate to see you go anywhere else right now. Even though you want to be in modified, you got to be realistic, and hopefully Dad keeps buying lotto tickets, and you're going to win a lotto one of these days.
Yeah, one of these days, right?
That'd be
Yeah,
nice.
that's right.
Yeah, we'll probably, I don't know, if they go to the IMCA thing, the stock cars, we're close to that, so that's probably where we'll go. And that's a very competitive class. And
Yes, it is.
we talked to Johnny Spall quite a bit at the end of the year last year, and then we went up to Tipton, and he kicked everybody's butt up there.
Oh, my God.
And he was fast again at Bristol, real fast at Bristol, and then he
real
got COVID,
fast.
so he
Yeah.
couldn't run the feature. But
Can you believe that?
Isn't that something?
Wow.
I couldn't
I mean,
believe
my
that
God.
either.
Yeah.
What's the odds,
Yeah, that's right. And then, I do a lot of the Liberty shows up there, so, he's almost unbeatable up there at Liberty.
yeah, he beat me at the Outlaw Stock Car Show there last year.
Right.
He was trying to tell me he had his IMCA motor in there. But
Sure
we
he
know
did.
better.
We know better, Johnny.
And we know that was that was your modified motor. We know.
They always want to say that when they beat you. You know what I mean?
Oh,
I got
yeah.
my little one in tonight, right?
Oh, yeah, and I lost a cylinder on lap 3.
All we
Yeah,
ever say is we got the only one in tonight.
He actually commented the first, or it was 2 weeks ago. For the night I won, he asked if I need to borrow the little IMCA motor.
Oh, my God. We still got a little time left. I want to ask you, so are you guys buying motors or building your own motors?
We build our own.
Okay.
Every
Yeah.
year.
Every year.
Since I started, I always did my own motors. I even built chassis for a while, before I started.
Nice.
I figured that was the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
But, now I'm into the shocks. I do the rear ends. I do the transmission. I can build it. And you know what? These guys out there nowadays,
Yeah.
if you can learn to do that, I'm telling you, you can almost make it affordable. But if you don't want to take the time to do it,
You're
get
in
your
trouble.
checkbook out.
Yeah.
Because let's face it. I looked at a flyer the other night. I was just telling him on the internet. He was paying $400 to win. In 1987 for a modified.
Right.
Okay. What are we paying today?
Yeah. There you go.
30 years later.
Yeah, Rick, we were raced at National Series, and back then IMCA had a National Series, and it was 1,000 to win every night in '87. And I remember Dan and I kept books. It cost us $3,500 to build that car because we built the chassis, built the control arms, built the motor, built the trannies, and we spent the winter building backup stuff. You know, we'd start the season with about 7 motors because we were going to get claimed, and you know, we had machine shop for a sponsor, and so we got parts of cost, and but literally, I remember '87 we went out opening night. We won East Moline. They had an IMCA National on Sunday night, so we won $1,000. And Tuesday we went to Princeton, Illinois, and I got past Bob Pierce on the white flag. Motor was letting go, and we won that. Now we got 2,000, and we got 3,500 in our car. Then Wednesday we went to Knoxville, and they had an IMCA National there, and we won that. We won $3,000, and we had 3,500 in our whole car.
Wow.
So now when you look at, you know, the modified being, let's just pick a number. Say you got 25,000. You got a used car and, you know, used stuff. Still, you know, the payback on that, you better have a rich uncle or, you know, a wealthy girlfriend or, you know, and by the way, Nick, do you have a girlfriend?
I'm married.
You're married?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Yep.
Got a
Well,
little
there you
girl
go.
too.
Yep.
That's one thing I never knew.
Yeah.
How long
Yep.
you been married?
It'll be 2 years in June 1st.
Now, have you give mom and dad any grandkids yet?
Yep. We got a daughter, Hadley. She's 4.
Okay.
I just saw that Hadley's watching. She says, "Hey."
Oh,
about
I
that?
like that.
How about
Yep.
that? No,
Okay.
I think that's cool that you guys build your own motors. That was something I grew up in.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking earlier about being out in the shop, and my 360 is apart, and we're actually putting it back together to run. So, yeah, I don't understand the guys that don't do that don't, you know, because you don't necessarily have to have a shop as big as mine to, you know, to be able to pull heads off and change valve springs and stuff like that.
I have a 2.5 car garage. I mean, and it's all race car stuff. Wife complains she has never parked her car in the garage.
Yeah, no, you know,
But, you know, it's
you're
like-
working on it.
And I've done that for years, you know. I mean, it just was some way that I always, when I first started out, it was out of my pocket, and I didn't have a great job, and that's the only way I could make it, you know. So, I mean, if you can do it, guys,
Yeah.
learn how to do it because
Without
Gotta
a doubt.
do it. My God.
Without a doubt.
So, Nick, I'm a grandparent. You know, I got a grandson and a granddaughter. So the question is, we got to carry on that Hixson name. When's the grandson coming along?
I don't know. Yeah,
I'd like to
he's
know
been
that, too.
waiting.
Yeah.
That's
I got 3 granddaughters.
Yeah, my sister's got 2 girls, and I got a girl. I don't
What's
know.
the deal?
We keep giving my brother a hard time, telling him he needs to get with
Step
it. He's
up.
going to be the one to have a boy.
Oh, boy.
That is
Well, I'll
awesome.
tell you what, we sure had a good time having you guys on. I appreciate you coming on, and, you know, you're a great interview. And, Nick, I wish you nothing but the best. And, Rick, you never know. Maybe one of these days you might talk to Dave and Sharon and get that car out and just take her out for a spin.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know. Right.
I put jabs in every once in a while trying to get it going.
That's right.
There
That'd be
you go.
nice.
Yeah.
Pat, you got any words in closing?
You know, it's great to have. I love father and son duos. You know, I miss my dad dearly. Shane and I talk about it all the time, and it's so great to see a father and son, you know, racing together and out enjoying it. So it's great to have you guys. Thanks for coming and joining us, and thanks for a great show.
And any words of wisdom, Rick, we close out with?
If you can build it yourself, do it.
I like
there you
that.
go.
You will
How
save.
about you, Nick?
Be able to
Yeah,
make
pretty
it
much,
affordable.
pretty much that. It's pretty interesting. Sometimes you go, if I'm not racing, I'll go watch and walk through the pits and some of the things that some of the guys can't fix or diagnose because they don't do a lot of the stuff themselves. Costs them a lot. You know, it costs them a night because they don't know
Right.
what's going on. And I mean, there isn't much that we haven't been able to figure out when we were at the track, unless, you know, some chasing electrical issue or something that you can't never find.
Good. We've all been there. Well, thanks for tuning in to True Grit. We had a good time. Had you guys on. We'll have to have you on again sometime. I'm glad. Boy, you kept us busy.
That's right. And don't forget, we're here every Monday,
Every Monday.
7 p.m. Please like and share. It helps us all out. And go to Done Right TV and support what they're doing and support the videos as well.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be seeing you around the track.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.